Detecting in the military the good, the bad, and the ugly. You did a stint in the military, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, 24 years.
And
for your service.
absolutely. I was really I really was fired up at Veterans Day, and then I made a little montage of about Veterans Day, and I really have a lot of respect for the people that have served in our military since I wasn't allowed to, and it probably wasn't my thing to begin with. So much more respect to everybody that does. Uh, when you're during your time in the military, did you ever get a chance to take your detector with you when you were moved around and stuff on your downtime?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, when I was deployed to Germany, I bought a metal. I had a metal detector, but it didn't come in yet with my household goods, and I was shipped there ahead of my family and everything. And so I went to the PX and got a metal detector, and they sold them at the PX there. So I was out there in Germany, and I was finding all kinds of old Deutschmarks and more related stuff in the old post. And the MPs drive by, and at that time they didn't care. Like they're like indifferent. We don't give a fuck. So when I deployed to Bosnia, they knew that I metal detected. And what do you use to find mines with?
Yeah.
Well, guess what my job was? So I got attached to the Mine Action Center and finding mines and stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's pretty hazardous.
Yeah, so that really takes your hobby and it puts it in a whole new light. You're out there sweeping for mines, and that's a job that you really can't afford. You can't afford to be lackluster at it. You got to be very thorough with that job because lives kind of depend on that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird though, because when we were training, they would just take a 2-penny nail and stick it straight down into the ground, and they go, this is about as big as the fuse, just the head of the nail. They not the whole nail, but just the head part of the nail, and they would push it down to the ground about 2 inches, and say, this is about the signal that you could expect to see from a Russian mine or a Serbian mine or a Italian mine. Well, the Italian mines are really hard because they're mostly all plastic except for the tiny little copper percussion cap. That's the only metal in it. So those are almost impossible to detect. And is what the Serbians would do is they would take, there's I remember the name of the mine. I think it was a TMA3. It had 3 fuses on it. Is about the size of a cheese wheel or a steering wheel, and they would cut it into thirds. So they would have 3 mines. The whole thing weighed 22 kilograms of TNT. And then there was other there was a time where a Humvee drove over a mine and blew off back part of the vehicle. So we were out there and looking for additional mines before the recovery team came in. And we found a mine that was buried with the 3 fuses sticking up out of the mud with a footprint right, that's the luckiest individual alive. He stepped on a mine, but it didn't go off.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, man. But anyway, when I got back to Germany, a buddy of mine took me to this old place. He was in the Bundeswehr, and he took me to this old place where they did the old wars back in the 1500s, the medieval stuff.
Wow.
And me and him were talking and drinking beer. I gave the thing to my daughter, and she was out there in the area. She's metal detecting, and she found some old coin, and I still don't know what it was. It's some old ancient coin from the 1500, something like that. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Is she hooked at it
Some
too?
old bronze coin, but I couldn't identify it. I didn't know what it was.
Does she metal detect too?
No, she didn't really get hit with a bug like I did. But yeah, it's like, for example, when I try to upgrade as often as I can when the next new shiny thing comes out that gets good reviews. So I was out and I was asking permissions around before I started filming for YouTube, and there was this old farm. So I asked the farmer, he was out plowing his field. So I stopped and walked out to the field and talked to him and everything like that. And he goes, yeah, man, whenever I'm done, you can come out here and, I just planted winter wheat, which is a cover crop. He says, you can come out here and dig. So I was out there digging, and I found this thing. This is a training round. It doesn't have a fuse on it, and it weighs about 8 pounds.
Wow.
9 pounds. It's a solid iron. It's a mortar round, but when I first dug that thing up, I was like, whoa, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Took some pictures of it, backed away, turned the machines off and everything like that, and then did some research on it and found out that, because it didn't look like anything, because I'm retired military, out in the military, and I would know what a mortar was. This has the shape to it, but it wasn't a mortar. I was like, it has to be some kind of dummy round. And it was a dummy round. But you never know what you're going to find, because you might find, yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. That has a fuse on it, and this is just a round thing. But
that almost looks like an aerial practice bomb. Almost.
It is.
Like,
it is.
okay.
It's the without the fuse. It doesn't have the tail fin on it, so it's still plugged with mud and stuff like that. But it's pretty
really
heavy,
cool.
and it's got pits in it from being in the ground for so long. I don't know how old it is.
Yeah, I was really curious because I knew you mentioned in the stream that you was in the military, and I always wondered if anybody, because my my other digging partner Kurt, when we went out with him, and he always talked about when he was stationed, he was in the Air Force, he was in Japan, and he was talking about how nobody over there metal detected, and so he was always finding just all these coins and stuff all the time. And then so that made me wonder, because I knew you were military, and I figured that I was wondering if where you were stationed and if you got a chance to dig. So that's really cool.
Yeah. When I was over in Hawaii, I was stationed in Hawaii, and I was metal detecting on Waikiki Beach. What better place to go when you're in Hawaii, right? So I found a lot of stuff out there, rings and jewelry and stuff like that. I found an Omega watch, which is, so that was a nice find.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and some old Hawaiian coins from back in the 20s or 30s. And when I was stationed in Germany, I found all those a lot of German stuff. And then I was stationed in Bosnia, and part of the Bosnia Kosovo thing, I was out there doing some practice tests on the ground where we had some targets set up, right? So I'm digging these targets and everything, and they gave us a civilian White's, what was that? I think it was a White's compass or something like that at the time. And I was digging up this one target, and he goes, "What is it?" And I goes, and they're talking to themselves, because I could pretty much tell where they dug the thing, because the earth was disturbed. But this wasn't where it was disturbed, so I was digging around, and I found an old Roman coin.